Super Lucky Disaster Man. Chapter 63, Romance Season's High School Life. After the New Year's holiday ended, it was the third semester. Komaeda Nagito returned to Tokyo to attend his final semester at Taitang Junior High. Soon after the term began, he became a high school student. Without a doubt, Komaeda Nagito planned to directly advance to Taitang High School, without putting much thought into it. After all, in this world, there was no Hope's Peak Academy, and any high school was the same. On the other hand, Kudo Shinichi felt a bit regretful. That means it won't be very convenient to find senpai in the future. One is in the middle school district, the other is in the high school district. Although both carry the Taitang name, in reality, the school campuses aren't close to each other, so it's certainly not as convenient to just pop in and out like that. Anyway, since the houses are very close, it's not necessarily important for us to meet at school. That's right. After returning from America, perhaps due to the misfortune of staying in the hospital for so long, which turned into some good luck, Komaeda Nagito finally managed to buy a house after the start of the second semester. The school location wasn't far, and it also wasn't far from where his first burned-out residence used to be. The information was provided by Furuya Rei, who was undercover at the liquor factory, as compensation for Komaeda Nagito's loss. After all, the liquor factory would never compensate, and Komaeda's burned-down house was indeed burned for nothing. Only Furuya Rei, who benefited from the situation, could offer a bit of compensation. After a period of renovation and repair, along with buying furniture and handling other trivial matters, around October, Komaeda Nagito finally moved from the Kudo household into his new home. Kudo Shinichi even sighed. Although senpai has been blacklisted by many landlords and is even on a rental blacklist, when he stayed at my house, nothing significant happened at all. As for breaking a glass or something like that, it could happen to anyone. Komaeda Nagito also found it quite mysterious, not knowing why he felt so safe while staying at Kudo's place. In the end, he could only conclude that it was probably because Kudo was the hope among hopes, and thus he felt even more reassured to be friends with Kudo Shinichi. In short, although the new house is not as close to the Kudo family's place as the previous one, if Kudo Shinichi really wants to come over, it takes less than 10 minutes to get there, so there's no need to worry about school. Besides, next year Kudo-kun will be entering high school too. Komaeda Nagito said with a smile, it's just 1 year, yet Kudo-kun looks as if he won't be seeing me again afterward. Kudo Shinichi was slightly embarrassed by the comment. He's someone who appears warm on the outside but is cold inside. Although he can get along well with everyone, those who can truly meet his standards are very few, and those who can become his friends are even fewer. If it wasn't for his curiosity about the Vongala family, he wouldn't even have exchanged contact information with Sawada Tsuneyoshi. Komaeda Nagito stayed at his house for almost half a year, and naturally, he started to feel even closer to Komaeda Nagito. When he moved out, it was still fine. At school, they could still eat lunch together or something. But suddenly, even at school, they couldn't see each other anymore. 14-year-old Kudo Shinichi was, after all, still just a child, and deep down he couldn't help but feel a bit reluctant. Of course, after Komaeda Nagito exposed it, that bit of reluctance disappeared. Kudo Shinichi wished he could go back in time and erase that period. It was so immature. He wasn't just some elementary school friend transferring schools. After the third semester ended, it was spring break, and Komaeda Nagito packed up a bit in his apartment in Tokyo, planning to move some essential items back to his home in Yokohama. While packing, Komaeda Nagito's phone suddenly rang. He answered it, and Dazai Osamu's voice came through. Komaeda-kun, how's the packing going? More or less done. The car is outside. Do you need someone to come in and help with the luggage? Komaeda Nagito pulled aside the curtain to take a look at the Port Mafia car, feeling a bit awkward. No need, I can handle it myself. There isn't much stuff. Knowing that this is Komaeda Nagito's last day as a middle schooler, Dazai Osamu had the Port Mafia driver took the luggage back to Yokohama home, then set off together with Komaeda Nagito in the direction of Ginza, announcing that they wanted to celebrate Komaeda Nagito's graduation from middle school. It's just middle school graduation. There's really nothing worth celebrating, is there? Oda Saku said he wanted to celebrate, probably because he has raised too many children at home, but none of them have reached middle school age yet, so seeing you, he couldn't resist participating a bit and wanted to have a rehearsal. Dazai Osamu irresponsibly speculated. Komaeda Nagito recalled the children Oda Sakanosuke had adopted at home and felt that this possibility was quite high, so he had no objections. Let's go. By the time we get home, the luggage will definitely be placed at the door. Dazai Osamu urged, Ango has a business trip tonight, so let's hurry. Ever since the rumors about Dazai Osamu and Komaeda Nagito being connected became common knowledge in the port mafia, his actions in Tokyo had ceased to be as cautious as before. Today, he even used his position as an executive to call a port mafia car to help Komaeda Nagito move house without worrying about what Mori Ogai might say. When a clear and obvious purpose is put in front of everyone, the crowd's attention will be attracted, leaving little reason to scrutinize Dazai Osamu's other actions. Just like that, Komaeda Nagito successfully helped Oda Sakanosuke and Sakaguchi Ango provide cover. When Dazai Osamu mentioned going to Tokyo, everyone had an expression of, I understand, he's going to look for that Komaeda-kun. However, the two being covered were actually somewhat worried. Isn't this kind of thing not very good? Today, during Komaeda Nagito's middle school graduation celebration, Sakaguchi Ango, being a member of the intelligence department, couldn't help but bring up this topic. Dazai is one thing, but what about Komaeda-kun? I feel like if he wants to get a girlfriend in the future, it would be quite awkward if this kind of rumor got out. Dazai Osamu retorted, no, normally speaking, an ordinary woman wouldn't know about the port mafia gossip, and why is it, Dazai is one thing? Because Dazai doesn't seem like someone who would get a girlfriend. Oda Sakanosuke raised his glass and said, so there's no need to worry about ruining your reputation. Dazai Osamu choked, no, if I wanted to find one, I could definitely find one quickly, you know? But all those people, you couldn't care less if they know about the gossip, right? Oda Sakanosuke spoke bluntly. Once they hear the gossip, they might leave you, but you wouldn't care, so naturally, it has no effect on you, Dazai. Why did this topic turn into this? Dazai Osamu's smile could hardly hold on, weren't we just talking about Komaeda-kun entering high school? Sakaguchi Ango sighed, why it turned out like this, you might as well ask yourself. Originally, the rumor spread about you and Komaeda-kun was just for fun, not many people actually believed it, you could tell just by looking at the betting pool, but when I went on a business trip to Hakata and interacted with an organization, someone asked if you actually liked men. This is no longer just a rumor within the port mafia, and the surname, Komaeda, is not that common. Oda Sakanosuke continued, moreover, it's precisely because Komaeda-kun wants to attend high school, so it's necessary to mention this. High school is the season of romance. Oda Saku, since when did you understand such things? Oda Sakanosuke calmly said, last year, I discussed some related topics with Komaeda-kun. Dazai Osamu looked at his two adult friends, who acted like a pair of worrying dads, silently turned his head to look at Komaeda Nagito, who was still maintaining his smile. Komaeda-kun, you're okay with this, right? Haha, though being involved in strange rumors is a bit uncomfortable, especially every time I go to your headquarters, I always feel strange eyes staring at me. Akutagawa-kun seems to resent me for it as well. However, if it's for Dazai-kun's sake, I don't mind at all. I'm very willing to contribute. Dazai Osamu skillfully distilled the central message from Komaeda Nagito's words, not exactly unhappy, but certainly affected. Probably Komaeda-kun is also tired of all those strange, peculiar gazes. Once they got more familiar with each other, Dazai Osamu could also catch up with Komaeda Nagito's whims in the moment. Komaeda Nagito wasn't truly just going along with Dazai because he seemed full of hope. When something displeased him, he'd make it a point to speak out, though he was more restrained these days. Alright, I get it. Dazai Osamu said cheerfully, it's mainly that their expressions when they see Komaeda-kun are just too amusing. But lately, I suppose the effect has worn off quite a bit, maybe they've gotten used to it, so we might as well clear it up. That's great. Sakaguchi Ango said, that way Komaeda-kun won't have anything to worry about when it comes to dating. Dazai-osamu squinted his eyes. Ango, why are you so interested in Komaeda-kun's love life? Sakaguchi Ango adjusted his glasses with an expressionless face. Consider for a moment that I'm in the intelligence department, listening to rumors from 2 friends every day. You wouldn't want to know the full extent of what's being spread. Dazai-osamu. Seeing Dazai-osamu's expression turn subtly strange as if he'd thought of something, Sakaguchi Ango quietly let out a soft sigh of relief. In truth, those words were half true and half false. After all, Dazai-osamu was an executive, a particularly fearsome executive known throughout the port mafia. Excessive rumors couldn't really spread because those who heard the rumors would never dare share them with a third person. Currently regarding Dazai-osamu and Komaeda Nagito, most of the discussion is actually quite basic, similar to the kind of debate like, is it normal for ordinary friends to live together, and whether or not they are lovers is filled with speculation. After all, everyone kind of feels that Dazai-osamu doesn't really seem like someone who falls in love. If it weren't for that earth-shattering declaration that Akutagawa Yunosuke made last year in front of everyone in the headquarters lobby, no one would have even considered this direction of thinking. Akutagawa Yunosuke is exactly the kind of person with a lone wolf personality, ruthless, cold, decisive. He wouldn't hesitate to take action even against his superiors, friends. No one would dare blindly ask Akutagawa Yunosuke, "What do you mean by opening a room?" They fear they wouldn't get an answer, and instead, their life would be forfeit. Throwing away one's life for gossip is not worth it. Therefore, when Sakaguchi Ango brought up the topic of whether young people should enjoy love in their prime, he deliberately mentioned this, intending for Dazai-osamu to intervene. It was entirely a calculated move. That is, he felt that Komaeda Nagito's presence in the port mafia was a bit too much. It could be rare to find gossip they can speak openly about. Everyone seems to be extremely enthusiastic about this topic. Moreover, Dazai-osamu, after returning from America, abandoned treatment, essentially disregarding the usual mafia protective customs, openly mingling with Komaeda Nagito, and even directly living together. Meanwhile, Sakaguchi Ango, being an intelligence agent, has recently handled some pieces of information, making him sense an imminent crisis. The port mafia is undoubtedly at the forefront, with no possibility of staying uninvolved. Under such circumstances, he hoped to ensure that Komaeda Nagito, a normal person who had no connection to the port mafia, was not a special division agent, and had no obligation to be an enemy, would stay far away from the whirlpool. Even if Komaeda Nagito was a disciple of Natsume Soseki, it couldn't hide the fact that he was still a minor and had not undergone specialized training. Until Komaeda Nagito received a clear assignment, he was just an ordinary person. Putting someone else unfamiliar in this position, Sakaguchi Ango would have made the same choice, because during his time as an undercover agent, the more innocent blood on his hands, the more he wanted to protect those within his reach. Especially Komaeda Nagito's luck. He had some doubts. No, it was almost certain, if Komaeda Nagito kept getting so tightly involved with Dazai-osamu, there was absolutely, 100% certainty, that he would be dragged into the major upcoming incident. Based on observations from the previous year, regardless of whether Komaeda Nagito ends up in misfortune or luck, the situation would definitely spiral out of control, and no one would know how it would turn out. It would be better to think of a way to eliminate Komaeda Nagito first. In any case, making those strange rumors disappear would definitely benefit Komaeda Nagito. "Hey, Ango." Oda Sakunosuke's voice woke Sakaguchi Ango from his deep thoughts. "Are you tired?" Ango has been spacing out all day today. Dazai-osamu propped up his face as he looked at him. Was this mission a particularly tough business trip? Sakaguchi Ango adjusted his glasses. "No, it's just lack of sleep." Within this year, Yokohama would soon fall into chaos, and he was one of the hands pushing it. There was simply no way to sleep. In April, Komaeda Nagito advanced to Taitang High, officially becoming a high school student. Many classmates were people he knew from middle school. If not for the change in school district and uniform, Komaeda Nagito could barely feel that he had entered high school. The first day of school, the teacher initially seemed easy to get along with, and whether it was between classmates or between teachers and students, everyone was in a state of mutual understanding. Everyone restrained themselves, cooperating quite well, so the first day passed smoothly. At the end of the school day, Komaeda Nagito and a female classmate named Sakura Chio were responsible for the second round of cleaning. Sakura Chio had never interacted with Komaeda Nagito before, and they were not close at all, so after their initial greetings, they could only clean in silence. When they finished cleaning and were heading out of the school grounds together, Sakura Chio's pace suddenly became slower and slower. Although they didn't have any agreement to leave the school gates together, in the end they were still walking side by side. Komaeda Nagito suddenly felt that it would be strange if he just left by himself, so he followed Sakura Chio's line of sight and found an unfamiliar male student. "Do you like him?" Komaeda Nagito asked casually. "Huh? No, not at all." Sakura Chio's face instantly turned bright red. I was almost late for the entrance ceremony today, and he helped me." "I see." Komaeda Nagito didn't actually care much. But Sakura Chio seemed truly embarrassed, quickly turning her head, hastily catching up with Komaeda Nagito, and quietly explaining along the way, "It's really not like that, please don't say anything silly, okay? Don't worry, I won't tell anyone." Komaeda Nagito said with a smile, "Unless someone is bored, otherwise, no one would be interested in this kind of thing, right?" Sakura Chio let out a sigh of relief. "Thank you, Komaeda-kun." "Sorry, I previously thought that it would be hard to get along with you, Komaeda-kun." "Huh?" Komaeda Nagito thought for a moment. "I don't think I've done anything today, though." "It's exactly because you haven't done anything," Sakura Chio said awkwardly. While everyone else was interacting with one another, Komaeda Nagito was the only one looking out the window, so it's natural that it gave off a feeling of being hard to approach. After this small interlude, the two quickly became familiar with each other and headed to the school gate together. Komaeda-kun. Hearing a call like that, Komaeda Nagito unexpectedly discovered that Dazai-Osamu was waiting for him at the school gate, greeting him, and surrounded by a few female classmates who seemed to be hesitating about coming up to ask for his contact information. Komaeda Nagito raised an eyebrow and walked over. "Why is Dazai-kun here?" "Came to pick Komaeda-kun up after school." Dazai-Osamu's face was clean, without any bandages wrapped around, and due to the weather, he wasn't wearing that ill-fitting coat, just a simple white shirt and black trousers, making him look taller and leaner. Although there were still bandages visible on his wrists and neck, but he greeted Komaeda Nagito energetically, appearing completely harmless, which made it understandable why those girls were blushing and reluctant to leave. Dazai-Osamu looked at Sakura Chio, who had come out with Komaeda Nagito, and said with a cheerful smile, "Is this what Bungou called the love season?" On just the first day of school, Komaeda-kun already has a familiar female classmate. Bungou must be quite pleased. Before Komaeda Nagito could say anything, Sakura Chio blushed and quickly waved her hands. No, I already have someone I like." "Ah." Realizing she had spoken too much, just moments ago vowing firmly it's just simply looking for someone who helped her, Sakura Chio immediately covered her mouth, her face flushed as she looked towards Komaeda Nagito. Komaeda Nagito, understanding and stepping in to help Sakura Chio out of the situation, said, "If Dazai-kun is willing to talk, there are plenty of female classmates behind you, you could quickly get to know a few." Dazai-Osamu smiled slightly. "Alright, no joking. Let's talk as we walk." Komaeda Nagito politely said goodbye to Sakura Chio, then picked up his bag and walked alongside Dazai-Osamu. "What's up? Didn't I say before that I wanted to research an invention to make tofu that could kill someone?" Dazai-Osamu said. "To make the tofu hard, I've been putting in effort lately. Finally, I managed to make tofu hard enough to nail a nail into." Komaeda Nagito carefully watched his step while cautiously observing Dazai-Osamu's head. "Don't look, I haven't tested it yet." Dazai-Osamu said, "Compared to stabbing myself to death, I recently find eating poisonous mushrooms somewhat more interesting." But since I had already completed the research and invention, I decided to finish it off for now, planning to revisit the idea and try stabbing tofu afterward. However, tofu has an expiration date, and throwing it away felt too much of a waste, so I thought I'd cut it up and dip it in soy sauce for a taste. Komaeda Nagito was silent for a moment, and then, "It was delicious," Dazai Osamu sighed. "Perhaps I have a natural talent for tofu research, as it tasted better than any tofu I've ever eaten. But I really can't eat too much of it. So, I thought I'd come over and give you some." From the beginning, Komaeda Nagito didn't expect that, inventing a piece of tofu to stab oneself to death, would develop into this, and he was a bit surprised. However, he quickly regained his composure and said cheerfully, "Dazai-kun is really amazing, starting from scratch and learning how to make tofu to this level. When the port mafia disbands, you won't have to worry about unemployment." "Komaeda-kun, you haven't even taken a bite and you're saying that. Even if it's a compliment, it won't make me happy." "Because I trust Dazai-kun," Komaeda Nagito said with a smile. "Unfortunately, I can't make tofu dishes, but I think just slicing it and dipping it in soy sauce shouldn't be a problem." Dazai Osamu calmly said, "Too plain. Let me do it." He could start from scratch and make tofu. Managing trivial matters was indeed as easy as turning his hand, and his previous work, Vitality Soup, also received a lot of praise. His intelligence, when applied to anything, could yield a 100-fold return. So when Mori Ogai called to ask where Dazai Osamu was, Dazai Osamu, holding the phone with his shoulder, one hand stirring spices, and the other holding a spoon to mix the contents of the pot, replied, "I'm at Komaeda-kun's place, cooking." Mori Ogai. At this moment, an image of Dazai Osamu cooking uncontrollably appeared in Mori Ogai's mind, making him tremble involuntarily. No, how should I put it? Dazai Osamu cooking is naturally something he knows about, and the consequences of making Vitality chicken soup for the port mafia are still vividly clear. Clearly, he knew about this long ago, so why does it still feel so bizarre upon hearing it again? It's certainly because it involves Komaeda-kun as a prefix. He's also been affected by the rumors. Although I also want Komaeda-kun to cook for me, he tried making cat food earlier, and somehow managed to blow up the kitchen. Understanding what Mori Ogai's silence meant, Dazai Osamu sighed, "What else can I do?" Mori Ogai couldn't help but ask, "How did it explode?" "Gas leak." Mori Ogai thought to himself. As expected of Komaeda-kun, this reason is truly quite ordinary. Actually, you all could just go out to eat. Because the tofu was made by me from the beginning, bringing my own ingredients to the restaurant required reservation, I had no choice but to make it myself. Dazai Osamu raised an eyebrow. "Boss Mori, if you want some, I can bring a portion back for you." Mori Ogai. "No. No need. The last time with that Vitality chicken soup, everyone lost their memories after drinking it. Who would dare eat anything you make anymore? So, Boss Mori, what exactly is the matter for calling here again?" Mori Ogai calmed his mind a bit and returned to the serious topic. "How much do you know about Italy's Millefiori family?" "No different from intel from the intelligence department. What's up?" "Their leader has arrived in Yokohama," Mori Ogai said. "The purpose is still unclear." Dazai Osamu covered the pot of soup. "Yakuran gesso, huh? Got it. Find him, investigate his purpose, anything else? Speaking of which, do you want to contact Vangala? Determine his purpose first." "No need for that for now," Mori Ogai replied. "You understand what I mean?" Yeah, I get it." Dazai Osamu sighed. "Vacation's over." "Dazai-kun, sorry to be blunt, but you weren't really on vacation to begin with. Hurry back to work for me already. Chapter 63 End.